We don't have any work, but we got a lot of
Mhm.
guys. What do
Yep.
we do? We've been surviving on word of mouth and
Yeah.
maybe some other light form of marketing, we'll say.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem, like, the earlier problem that you didn't solve is you didn't do
Sure, early
enough
on.
marketing. Like, you either didn't invest in maybe you invested in your brand, but you didn't invest in, like, pushing that brand out to the community. You probably didn't invest in pay-per-click. You probably didn't invest in Google LSA. You're probably solely relying on your
Mhm.
GMB or one
Mhm.
source of advertising, right? Versus somebody with a bigger shop, you know, they need to be well
Mhm.
diversified in their advertising. So they need to be omnipresent. So they need to be
Mhm.
everywhere where their
Mhm.
customer is. And you need to start developing that like early
Yeah.
on because it takes
Mhm.
time to get that ball rolling. So if you roll through a busy season and you're like hire, 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 but then you don't have the marketing to support
Mm.
during the slow season and you've got all these guys, like you're saying, what do you
Yeah.
do? Right? That's a lame spot to be in, first of all. And what like step number 1, you need to like look at it and go, okay, like think about
Mhm.
what's your first
Mhm.
step, right? What am I going to do in this situation? I'm bleeding money. So how am
Mhm.
I going to stop the bleeding? I've got to stop
Mhm.
bleeding. What do I do? Fastest way to stop bleeding in that instance, you can
Sure.
wait it out
Yep.
if you've got cash reserves. If you don't have any cash reserves, then the fastest way to stop bleeding is going to be to start
Mhm.
cutting that labor, which is a really tough decision to make
Mhm.
for a business owner. It's like the
Mhm.
last thing they want to do. Unless you've got some other expense that you just
Mhm.
don't need that you're paying for that you could cut that would lower your expenses enough
Mhm.
to pay for the labor, but
Yeah.
that's usually not likely. Like you cut one guy and it can cut like,
Mhm.
10 grand a month
Mhm.
off of your overhead. So it's it's the most effective. You're not going to have 10 grand of extra
Sure.
software or some expense that you're not paying anymore. You might find a few
Mhm.
$100 here and there, but you're not going to be able to
Mhm.
cut 10 grand like that. So it's probably the best bet to make. Like if you're getting close to the end of your cash
Mhm.
reserves, especially because if you blow through your cash reserves, then
So,
what's
well,
going
you
to
ain't got
happen?
no cash. Yep. Yeah, lay them off
You're going to
anyways.
have to lay everybody off, right? Yeah. So if you got 4 or 5 guys and you're running out of money because you didn't do enough marketing, best bet is to before you run out of money, you're
Yeah.
going to have to cut one of those guys. And it's unfortunate, it
Mhm.
really is, and it's hard to do, but it's necessary for
Sure.
the rest of the business. And so you would pick the lowest guy on the totem pole and
Mhm.
probably let him go, right? Because the wrong thing to do would be to cut things that you
Sure.
still need in order to try and
Mhm.
save your business. Okay. So, first thing is I would cut some labor there. Second thing is I would then go back and look. Now that I stopped the bleeding, I would go back and look and I would say, okay, what put me in this situation? Like, how come I can go from super busy to just no
Yeah,
work
sure.
whatsoever?
Yeah.
And how do I
Mhm.
solve that
Mhm.
problem? Right. And so I would look back and I would say, okay, I'm only doing one source of marketing, or I'm not doing any just
Right.
general branding, right? I'm not on social media. I don't have any
Mhm.
social media posts. I'm not spending money to get my
Mhm.
brand out in the community. I'm not sponsoring any local
Mhm.
events, right? Maybe I'm
Mhm.
not on pay per click or I'm not on GLSA. All those things, right? I would go to my
Mm.
marketing company and say, hey, I was super busy during busy season. Now it's slowing down. How do we get more
Right.
calls during slow time, right? And yeah, that's usually a matter of just
Mhm.
branding, more
Mhm.
brand awareness, right? And then doing marketing that creates a call instead of relying on
Oh,
buying a
yeah,
call
sure.
that's already been
Yeah, yeah,
created,
yeah.
right? So you can
Mhm.
do outbound dialing, you can do email campaigns, you can do like giveaway things on the internet. So you can pique somebody's interest to actually come buy something from you that they weren't
Mhm.
intending to buy, right? So they weren't picking up Google and searching for it.
Mhm.
You piqued their interest enough
Mhm.
to where they bought it from you, right? So then I would go get
Mhm.
those things in place, right? And fix that problem so
Yes.
that it doesn't happen again. And the problem that people run into is they let those cash reserves go and they go and they go and they go. And instead of letting go of a guy, they will go in and they'll say, okay, I'm spending a ton on this marketing avenue.
Sure.
I'm going to let that go to save the money on that. And that'll
Mhm.
allow me to keep this guy on. But the bad part, like if you stop
You're not gonna
marketing,
have
what's
any
going to
work for
happen?
that guy anyway.
Are you going to get Are you gonna get you're already slow and you cut
Just
marketing,
gonna
what's
get
gonna happen?
yeah,
You're gonna get
definitely.
slower. Maybe not slower, but it's
Mm-mm.
definitely not gonna improve.
And
And so, the cost of that marketing, is it gonna
no,
pay for
probably
that
not.
guy?
Well, it depends on what it is, I
Maybe.
guess.
Probably not. Yeah, it depends on what it
Mhm.
is, but probably not, right? And then that's gonna go and hurt
Mhm.
the entire team. It's gonna hurt you as the business owner. It's gonna hurt your family, right? Because then all of a sudden your
Mhm.
business isn't gonna be profitable, all because you just made the wrong decision of what to cut.
Mhm.